I convinced myself it was insignificant, merely a passing flicker, a deception of the mind. Yet, as the days unfolded, I found myself increasingly drawn to him. His presence in the house was palpable, each movement deliberate, each glance a silent storm brewing beneath the surface, especially when he believed I was lost in my own world. A whisper of truth lingered in the air, faint yet impossible to ignore. And even worse, I found myself unable to resist the urge to glance back. It began with the tiniest of details. He lingered in the kitchen as I prepared the coffee, the air thick with unspoken tension. He leaned against the counter with an effortless ease, his gaze locked onto me, sending a shiver down my spine. His silence spoke volumes, a deafening roar that echoed in the spaces between their conversations. On a seemingly ordinary afternoon, my husband's voice broke through the stillness, calling from the office. The night stretches on, dark and endless, promising yet another long vigil. By now, I should have grown accustomed to it. Yet the weight of disappointment still nestled deep within my chest. I hung up, a slow breath escaping my lips as I steeled myself against the hollow ache that his absence left behind. Your lack of surprise is striking. His voice pierced through the silence, jolting me from my thoughts. I pivoted, and there he was, framed in the doorway, arms crossed, a knowing glint flickering in his eyes. I can't deny it, I confessed. Duty reigns supreme. His gaze lingered on me, a flicker of amusement dancing in his eyes before a smirk curled his lips. What a disappointment. His words struck me like a lightning bolt, sending a jolt through my very core. It wasn't sympathy. It was something far more perilous, a lurking threat that sent shivers down the spine. I warned you not to speak that way, I replied, my voice unwavering, a calm facade masking the storm brewing inside me. What do you mean? He advanced, his eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. As if I was attuned to the world around me, I swallowed hard, battling the urge to look away from those piercing eyes. Yet I refrained. I found myself unable to do it. He had an undeniable allure, a force that drew me closer even as every instinct within me screamed to stay away. This was no joke. His smirk grew more pronounced. Who claimed I was jesting? I averted my gaze, my fingers clutching the edge of the counter tightly. I had to put a stop to this before it even began, before a fleeting moment spiraled into something irreversible for both of us. I believe you should venture out tonight, I urged, striving to keep my tone nonchalant. Have you caught a glimpse of your friends? Embrace the thrill of enjoyment. I'm lost in the thrill of the moment. My breath hitched in my throat. He was dead serious. He was relentless, probing, gauging whether I would resist or surrender to the depths. I released a long, deliberate breath. Shall we embark on this journey? A heartbeat of stillness hung in the air, followed by a soft, almost conspiratorial chuckle. All right, he said at last, his voice low and measured. But there's something you need to understand. I turned, and in that moment, his expression shifted, revealing a gravity I had never seen before. His gaze pierced through me, steadfast and resolute. I feel an undeniable pull, a relentless urge that makes me question if I can ever truly walk away. Anger should have surged within me. I should have commanded him to go, to cast aside the dark and twisted thoughts that had burrowed deep within his mind. Yet I remained frozen, my heart racing, my body revealing a heat I dared not acknowledge. But what if I told you the most harrowing part? I never imagined I would want to halt this journey either. For days I kept my distance from him. It was the only choice that made sense in the chaos that surrounded them. I kept myself occupied, drowning in a sea of errands and hollow exchanges with my husband, desperately seeking to escape the tumultuous stirrings within me that his presence ignited. Yet evasion proved futile. It never truly existed. As dusk settled, I ventured outside, yearning for the cool breeze to sweep away the chaos in my mind. Yet again he stood there bare-chested, honing his skills under the faint shimmer of the backyard lights. Though every instinct screamed for me to turn back, my feet remained rooted to the spot, unwilling to obey the voice of reason. My breath caught in my throat as I observed the way his muscles coiled and flexed with each motion, the raw strength radiating from his very being. He was acutely aware of my gaze, the tension thickening in the air between us. I witnessed it in the deliberate way he slowed his pace, the way he extended his arms, rolling his shoulders as if he were performing for an audience. As he pivoted to meet my gaze, beads of sweat glistened on his chest, and that familiar smirk reappeared, igniting a spark of tension in the air. "You don't have to hide," he murmured, his fingers curling around the towel, a glimmer of warmth in his eyes. I drew in a shaky breath, my head swirling with disbelief. I was simply waiting in the shadows. He advanced, the space between them vanishing with unsettling ease. "Absolutely not. So what compels you to keep fleeing?" A knot formed in my stomach. "This is no mere game. I never claimed it was." His voice resonated with a calm certainty, each word deliberate and unwavering. "Yet deep down I sense you're deceiving your own heart. I should have turned my back and made my escape before it spiraled out of control." Yet deep within a fierce resistance stirred. Perhaps it was the crushing weight of solitude. Perhaps it was the intensity of his gaze that captivated me. I felt as though I was destined to be more than just a shadow in someone else's life. More than a mere silhouette in a seemingly flawless home. "Stop," I breathed, my voice barely a flicker in the heavy silence. It was not a mere request. It was a desperate cry for help. Yet he pressed on undeterred. As he reached for my hand, his fingers grazed against mine, igniting a jolt of electricity that surged up my arm. My breath hitched in my throat. I should have turned back. Regret gnawed at me, a relentless whisper of all the choices I left unmade. "You sense it as well," he whispered. I swallowed hard, a deep sense of dread coursing through me, every fiber of my being shouting that this was wrong. Yet, the way his touch lingered revealed a truth I couldn't escape. It was already too late. A sudden clap of thunder shattered the stillness, echoing through the air like a warning bell. As the sky deepened into an ominous shade, the initial drops of rain began to pelt the earth, each one a herald of the storm to come. I recoiled, my heart racing wildly. "This can't happen," I gasped, the words clawing their way out of my throat. He remained silent, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. He felt no compulsion to do so. The intensity in his gaze spoke volumes. It had already begun. I pivoted and stepped into the dimly lit room, my hands quaking as I shut the door with a soft click, sealing myself away from the world outside. The rain lashed at the windows, a fierce echo of the tempest swirling within me. I pressed my fingers against my lips, feeling the haunting echo of his touch still lingering there. A surge of anger coursed through me, and I yearned to pin the blame on him for everything that had gone wrong. For the relentless nudges, for awakening emotions within me that I believed were beyond my grasp. Yet buried within the shadows of my mind, the truth lingered, undeniable and haunting. It was I who had taken the first watch, my eyes scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Sleep eluded me that night, slipping through my fingers like sand. With each flutter of my eyelids his touch lingered, his voice echoed in my mind, and I could see the intensity in his gaze, as if he held the key to all my hidden truths. I convinced myself it was all a figment of my imagination, that the relentless rain and the palpable tension had distorted reality, amplifying every sensation beyond its true nature. As dawn broke, I descended the stairs, only to find him already there, poised and waiting. He remained silent at first, his eyes locked onto me as I poured my coffee, a weighty anticipation hanging in the air. The tension hung in the air, palpable and oppressive, wrapping around us like a heavy fog. My hands quivered ever so slightly as I raised the cup to my lips, and a surge of frustration coursed through me at his keen observation. "You stood your ground this time," he finally said, his voice a low rumble. I gulped, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. "There's nowhere to escape." A gradual, sinister smirk spread across his face. "Are you really certain about that?" I felt an overwhelming urge to bring it all to a halt, to finally put an end to this perilous game that threatened everything. But then he shifted, just slightly, his hand skimming my waist as he reached for the coffee pot, sending a jolt of electricity through the air between us. It was the faintest brush, a fleeting moment that could easily be mistaken for mere coincidence. Yet it was not. It enveloped me, a presence that seeped into every corner of my being. Heat surged within me, an uncontrollable force that consumed my every thought. I had to escape, to create a chasm between us before I succumbed to the urge to act on my wild impulses. But just as I was about to pull back, he leaned in, his breath brushing against my skin, sending a shiver down my spine. You keep insisting this can't happen, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, as if the very words could shatter the fragile reality around them. Yet, you never utter a word against it. I could have refused, could have turned my back and vanished into the shadows. Yet I refrained. I stood frozen, my pulse racing, anticipating the slightest shift, the faintest sound, anything to shatter the stillness that enveloped me. And then it happened. A deafening crash of thunder shook the very foundations of the house, rattling the windows with a ferocity that sent shivers down the spine. The power flickered, casting the room into an eerie twilight. The storm from the night before had come back with a vengeance, its fury intensified and relentless. And so he had. His fingers wrapped tightly around my wrist, a wordless inquiry hanging in the air. I remained rooted in place. My breath hitched as he drew me nearer, his hold steady yet gentle. He stood before me, presenting a choice that hung in the air, heavy with consequence. It was the final opportunity to halt the impending doom. A moment teetering on the edge of no return. The moment his lips met mine, I understood that all pretense would vanish, and there would be no turning back. This would be undeniable. And yet, when his lips met mine, gentle at first, then igniting with a fierce hunger, I found myself unable to pull away. I leaned in closer, the air thick with anticipation. I allowed it to unfold. The rich aroma of coffee enveloped us, a warm and intoxicating presence that hung in the air, binding us together in a moment suspended in time. His hands gripped my waist, drawing me tightly against him. As I surrendered to the warmth of his body, I found myself engulfed in the very moment I had fought against for countless nights. I felt no remorse for the path I chose. I felt a thrill coursing through me, oblivious to the fact that we were stepping into territory that would forever change everything. For the first time in years, a spark ignited within me, and all that mattered was the exhilarating sensation of being truly alive. The affair loomed like a shadow, a whisper of regret that should have echoed in the depths of the heart. I should have awakened, suffocating in a sea of guilt, my heart heavy with regret. Yet I refrained. I awoke, a restless yearning stirring within me. Each fleeting glance, every lingering touch, and every stolen moment in the hushed corners of the house wove a tapestry of secrets that intertwined our fates. He erased the very essence of my identity, leaving me adrift in a sea of uncertainty. It swept me away, erasing the life I had painstakingly built over the years. With him, I was no longer a neglected wife or a woman fading into the shadows of her own marriage. I was something extraordinary, a sensation long buried, now rising to the surface after years of silence. Yearned for craved breathing. Yet, the shadows of secrets refused to remain hidden for long. It began with a whisper. My husband started to observe the subtle shifts around us. A sudden change in my emotions. How I appeared lost in thought. He was not one to ponder deeply. Lost in the depths of his own thoughts, he remained oblivious to everything around him. But then, one fateful evening, he returned home earlier than usual. His arrival took me completely by surprise. Neither had my. The kitchen was quiet, the air thick with anticipation, when the door creaked open. My heart raced, pounding against my ribs, as I turned to find my husband standing in the doorway, his gaze fixed on me. His expression held an unsettling weight, a flicker of something unspoken lurking beneath the surface. A mystery shrouded in silence. Where could he possibly be? He inquired. His voice was unervingly calm. With a deep breath, I steeled myself, battling the rising tide of anxiety within. Who is it? His jaw clenched with a fierce intensity. You're aware of the one who holds the shadows. Panic gripped my throat like a vice. I cast my gaze toward the hallway, where my Jake had lingered only moments before, the lingering warmth of his presence still echoing against my skin. I held my breath, hoping he possessed the wisdom to remain concealed. My husband moved in closer, his gaze probing my face as if he were on a quest to uncover a hidden truth. A response. A deception that twists reality. The undeniable truth. You've changed, he murmured, his voice dropping to a near whisper, as if the weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Far away. I let out a strained laugh, my head shaking in disbelief. What you're seeing is just a figment of your imagination. His eyes deepened into shadows. Am I truly? A thick silence loomed over us, laden with the weight of unvoiced accusations. In that instant, I realized he required no evidence. He had already woven the threads of the puzzle into a chilling tapestry of truth. All he sought was my affirmation. The air in the room hung heavy, wrapping around her like a thick, oppressive blanket. My heart raced, a relentless drumbeat echoing in my ears. And then, just when I believed I could maintain my composure, he stepped back, releasing a sharp breath as if the heavy burden of understanding had finally crashed down upon him. "I don't need to hear it," he muttered, shaking his head, a storm brewing behind his eyes. "I am already aware." A chilling wave coursed through me at the finality in his voice. He turned and walked away, the air thick with an unsettling silence that swallowed everything in its wake. I stood there, clutching the edge of the counter, my breath uneven, my heart pounding in my chest. Relief should have washed over me, knowing he hadn't pressed for the truth, that he hadn't compelled me to utter those words into the air. Yet, when the front door slammed shut, an overwhelming heaviness settled upon me, a stark reminder of all that had slipped through my fingers.